So you're moving to Davenport, but how much do you actually need to make in order to live in Davenport? Well, that's what we're going to cover today, and we're going to break it down section by section within the city, specifically on home prices and what salary you possibly need in order to live in certain areas. So it's a beautiful day out. I brought my laptop. We're going to go through the map, show you the areas, and talk about the homes and the prices, and talk about how that relates to your salary. So without further ado, I got my buddies back here. We're gonna go in and look at the map and show you exactly what you need to live in certain areas. All right, so looking at the map right here, we're gonna break the city of Davenport into 6 sections. The first sections are gonna be along the river. We're gonna have the West Davenport South section, the East Davenport South section, and then we're going to move on up into what I'm calling the Central section, which is the West Central in the East Central, and then we're going to move on up another tier and go on the Northwest section and the Northeast section, and we're going to break it down by average cost of a home. All right, so the first area that we're going to cover is the Southwest section of Davenport. All right, so if we look at the map right here, the area that we are talking about is south of Locust and kind of over to Rockingham Road, and it's bordered by the Mississippi. When we're looking at this area, we're looking at an average home cost of about $109,000. Now keep in mind, when I'm talking numbers, this is breaking it down into 6 sections isn't quite enough, because each section you're going to have way different neighborhoods within that section, but it's going to give you a little bit of an idea, and that's the case with this one. Now 109,000 is the average when I look at the market of things that have sold in the last 6 months, and if we're looking at a 5% down, and that gives you a loan amount of about $103,000 approximately, with a 7.6% interest rate, that gives you a monthly payment of $731 approximately, okay? Now, this doesn't include taxes or fees, this is just the loan itself, so keep that in mind as well. But when we add in there that you're probably gonna be wanting to be around 25% of your monthly income, you should be making about $2,900, $2,924 is the number I came up with as far as your monthly income. And if you multiply that by 12, your salary needs to be at least $35,000 in order to purchase a home in this area. Now, what does this area actually consist of? It consists of a lot of smaller homes, a lot of older homes down in that area. And the thing you want to worry about in that area, specifically along the creeks in the Mississippi, is possible flood zones. Now, not all of it is a flood zone, but some of it is. So you gotta be wary of where you're purchasing if that's important to you, because getting insurance for flood zones is very, very expensive. And if that is the area you want to be in and you don't want to pay for that, you're gonna wanna know if you're in a flood zone to begin with. So that is the Southwest Davenport area. It has a lot of good things going on. You get pretty affordable housing over there. And again, you're going to be looking at about a $35,000 per year salary in order to purchase a home in that area. Now again, take this with a grain of salt, because it's all dependent on your situation and your debt to income ratios and the credit scores and all of that. But if we're just breaking down numbers as they are, that's what we're looking at. Now, if we move on over to the other area, which I'm calling the Southeast Davenport area, which actually ironically enough is where I'm located right now. This is Lindsay Park, right on the Mississippi. The Mississippi is right in front of me. That gentleman back there is supposedly pointing out at the Mississippi. He never moves, I don't know, it's a little bit odd, but that's where we're at. Now this area kind of goes from Brady Street all the way over to the Bettendorf line. It's bordered by River Drive, and then it goes up to about Locust Street. Okay, so if I dive into the numbers of this area, we get a average house price of about $168,000. Now, of all the areas that we're talking about, this is going to be the most diverse in the amount and change of dollars amount. Because right behind me is an area called McClellan Heights. McClellan Heights is a very expensive area to get into. You know, you're looking at $400,000 or $500,000 homes. And the other part of this section, you're looking at homes that are much, much less. I've sold a home over there for $50,000, for example. So you're gonna get a huge range difference in there when you're looking at this specific section. And that's why I say we're covering 6 sections, but if we really wanna break it down, we're gonna have to go smaller. But for simplicity's sake, that's what we're doing. So say the average is $168,000. What does that do as far as what your salary needs to be according to the numbers? Well, at a 5% down, you're looking at about $8,400 for your down payment. The loan amount is going to be $159,600 approximately, okay? If we do the math, at a 30-year, 7.6% interest rate, we're looking at $1,127 for your mortgage. Now, that doesn't, again, include taxes or fees or PMI or anything that goes along with that. That's just strictly the loan dollar amount. Now, if we're looking at it, 25% should be approximately of what your monthly income is. We're looking at a monthly income to have that at about $4,500 per month, okay? If we multiply that by 12, we're looking at $54,096. So in order to purchase a home in this area, you want to be making about $54,000 per year in order to afford a home in this area. Now again, I said at the beginning, this area is very diverse in the price point because of the different neighborhoods that are located within it. So if you're looking at this area, take that with a grain of salt, but if we're looking at the average, that's what we're looking at. Now, these areas are not homogeneous. I talk about the price points being a little bit different, and that's crucial to understand because if you're moving here, you can't just go on these sections that I'm describing. If you're moving here and you want to know what neighborhood fits your needs, you're going to want to give me a call. I am a licensed realtor here in the Quad Cities and in Davenport. So let me know your situation and we will find the perfect home for you. My number is popping up down below. I am the one that answers all those phone calls, emails, text messages, and I'd love to help you out. Now we're gonna move on up into the central band of Davenport and what kind of salaries you need to possibly have in order to afford a home in there. If we're looking at the West Central Davenport, which is about Locust up to 53rd Street, along Brady, and then out towards the countryside, I could say, out in that area. That's the area that we're looking at, okay? The average price in that area is $195,000. Now again, we gotta think about price points. There's a lot of different neighborhoods in there, but overall this is gonna be a lot more homogeneous compared to the section that we just did. So $195,000, at 5% down, we're looking at $97.50 as your down payment. That gives you a loan amount of $185,250 approximately. Now if we break down the $185,250 for a 30-year, 7.6 interest rate, we're looking at about $1,300 for your mortgage payment, not including taxes and fees. If we take that and we say 25% is approximately what your paycheck will be for the month, your salary for the month should be around $5,232. And if we multiply that out for a full year, you should be making about $63,000 per year in order to afford a home in this section. Now again, very general, but it gives you an idea of where we're looking at on the spectrum there. So that is West Central Davenport. Let's look at East Central band of Davenport. What do those numbers look like? Now you're gonna start to see that the numbers are creeping up just a little bit as we get into this area. When we're looking at this area, we're looking at an average price point of about $235,000. Now, what do you have in this area that people really like? Well, you have easy access to a lot of shopping. You got Home Depot right over there. You have Elmore really close by, which Elmore has Walmart, Target, bunch of food chains, Chick-fil-A, Costco close by. So a lot of people really like that area, and you can kind of see it reflected in the average price point. And if we're breaking down $235 as the average price point, we're looking at a 5% down of about $11,750 for that down payment. And if we break that down into the loan, your loan amount is going to be $223,250 approximately. Now, if that is a 30-year at a 7.6% interest rate, we're looking at $1,578 for your monthly payment towards the loan. And if that's 25% of your monthly income, we're looking at a monthly income of $6,312, making your yearly income about $75,000-ish, $76,000-ish to afford a home in East Central Davenport. Again, this is an area that is fairly desirable, and you can see that reflected in the home values just being a little bit higher than some of these other areas that we've discussed. Not that the other areas aren't desirable, but the home prices reflect what people are willing to pay in those areas. Now that we've gotten through the central band of Davenport, let's talk about the northern band. Now, the northern band is interesting in that part of it, the west, is pretty close to that East Davenport area when it comes to the average price point, okay? So if we're looking at the northwest part of Davenport, we're looking at an average home cost of about $212. Now, this area is going from about 53rd Street up to I-80, and then you're going to about Brady Street approximately if you're looking at the east. So we got that big square right there. So $212,000 is the average price. If we're breaking down 5%, the down payment is $10,600, and that makes a loan amount of $201,400. If we're breaking that into your payment, again, 30-year, 7.6% interest rate, it's $1,424 for your monthly payment on the loan. And if we break that down into what your salary should be, $5,696 per month, or $68,352 per year. If we look at that compared to East Central Davenport, which we just discussed, $75,000 versus $68,000. You're pretty much on the same playing field when it comes to those salary amounts. And again, I can't stress this enough. This is glossing over certain neighborhoods are much more expensive than other neighborhoods. But if we're looking in sections, this is kind of what we're looking at. Now, if we move on to the northeast part of Davenport, we're gonna see a dramatic change in home prices there. And you're gonna see a dramatic change in what salaries you possibly need in order to afford a home in these areas, okay? So where are we talking about? We're talking about from about Brady Street over to Utica Ridge, where the border of Bettendorf is, and then 53rd up to I-80, all right? So when we're looking at the average price point of homes in that area, we're looking at $442,000. Again, keep in mind the last two were average price point of $235 and $212. So you can see there's a huge difference in the price point when you're getting into that northeast Davenport area. If we break it down as far as the salary, you're looking at a down payment on the average price point of $22,100. That breaks down to a monthly payment of $2,949 approximately. And if you look at it from a salary standpoint, if that $2,949 is 25% of your monthly income needs to be $11,796. Now, if we break that down even further, your income for your household to afford a home in this area should be around $142,000. Now, this isn't an exact science. It's just to give you an idea of the approximation of what kind of salaries can afford you in different areas. This doesn't take into account any utilities, taxes, other costs. So you got to keep that in mind, but it gives you an approximation of the values of homes in different areas. And you can see why people are drawn to certain areas versus others. That East Davenport area, Northeast Davenport area is obviously much more expensive. So what does that really get you? You get super easy access to shopping. Again, you have that Elmore, you have Costco, Walmart, Target, all within about 5 minutes at most, you know, and then you have the new builds going on up there. So if you like new buildings, new homes, that's the area that people are looking in, which is a big factor into why that price point is so much higher, because all the other areas we talked about, for the most part, are not new builds. They're all pre-existing homes. That area that is at the end is a lot of brand new builds, and people are really liking that, and they want to get in there if they can afford it. So each area of Davenport is unique in what price points are there. And again, if you're thinking about moving here and you just really don't know what area is right for you, well, give me a call. My number is popping up down below, because I can talk to you all day on video, but unless I get to know you and your situation, I can't help you find the perfect home for you. So give me a call. My number is popping up down below. I am the one that answers all those phone calls, emails, and text messages. But if you're curious what some of these areas look like, well, check out this Davenport vlog right here.